Hello, welcome to Japan Lyric Room. In this show, we carefully savor the lyrics of Japanese songs, delivering the meanings behind the phrases and the unique cultural backgrounds of Japan in an easy-to-understand way.
It's so nice to sit down and do this again.
It really is. I'm so glad you decided to spend some time with us today. Just, take a breath, settle in, and let's explore some truly beautiful words together.
Absolutely.
Today, we're looking at a magnificent song released in 2024. It's called Lilac by the band Mrs. Green Apple.
Oh, what a perfect song for us to sit with today.
Right.
Yeah, if you've been following the Japanese music scene at all recently, you definitely know Mrs. Green Apple.
For sure.
Their fans affectionately call them Mrs., and they are just a wildly popular band, truly dominating the streaming charts right now.
They really are everywhere.
They've captured the hearts of multiple generations, and a huge part of that magic comes down to their vocalist, Motoki Omori.
His voice is just incredible.
His singing ability is out of this world, of course, but his lyrics are, well, they're deeply literary. They really sink in and linger in the listener's heart.
They absolutely have a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And to really appreciate Lilac, there's a specific context we need to lay out before we start unpacking the lyrics.
That's right. Lilac was written specifically as the opening theme for the TV anime Oblivion Battery, or Wakyak Battery in Japanese.
Which is such a fascinating show.
It really is. It's a youth baseball story, but it comes with a major, unexpected twist. It centers around a formerly feared, absolute genius catcher named Kei Kaname.
But there's a catch.
A huge catch. Kei loses his memory, he gets amnesia, and completely transforms into an idiot character who has absolutely zero baseball skills or knowledge.
It's such a brilliant disruption of the typical sports anime trope. You have this powerhouse who suddenly doesn't even know how to hold a bat.
Exactly. So this former genius, who is now entirely clueless, reunites with his childhood friend, a monster of a pitcher named Haruka Kiyomine. They end up enrolling at a completely unknown, no-name high school. And here's where the drama really kicks in. At this new school, they cross paths with several talented players who had actually quit baseball because Kimi and Haruka had utterly crushed their spirits back in middle school.
Oh, wow. So they have to face the people they broke.
Yeah, they all have to play together on the same team now, aiming for Koshin, the National High School Baseball Championship.
Talk about awkward reunions.
Definitely. And the anime is produced by the acclaimed studio MAPPA. It has this totally unique style that brilliantly mixes highly realistic baseball action with sudden, intense comedic gags.
It's a really rich setup, full of past regrets, awkward reunions, and unexpected second chances. And that connects perfectly to the thematic foundation of the song itself.
It does.
Lilac is actually an answer song to the band's massive previous hit, Natsu, which translates to Blue in Summer.
It's fascinating how they built that connection. I mean, Natsu was all about the sparkling, unfiltered middle of youth. You're right in the thick of it and the world is dazzling. But Lilac takes a step back. It looks back on that youth from a more mature perspective. A perspective that has experienced conflict, pain, and just the simple passing of time.
Which brings us to the title itself.
Yes, if we connect this to the broader imagery, we have to look at the lilac flower. In Japan, the flower language of the lilac includes friendship, memories of youth, and purity.
You can see how perfectly that mirrors the story of Oblivion Battery and the messy, beautiful reality of growing up.
Perfectly.
It's at such a gentle, reflective stage for us. So let's step directly into the lyrics. We're going to walk through 7 distinct phrases from the song today. Here's the first phrase.
Let's do it.
And the English translation is, "Though covered in dust, may my pride shine through."
And the cultural nuance here is, this describes the moment of finding one's precious self-esteem, Hokori, which still supports you today, with an old memories forgotten in the back of a shelf, things covered in Hokori.
What really strikes me right away is the incredible wordplay happening here.
The Japanese language allows for some beautiful double meanings, and Omori uses it brilliantly.
It's so clever.
In Japanese, the word for dust, the physical dust gathering in your closet, is Hokori. But the word for pride or your inner self-esteem is also pronounced Hokori.
So you have these physical objects from your youth.
Yeah.
They've literally been sitting in a box for years, just gathering dust. Gathering Hokori. Think about finding an old track and field ribbon.
Or a beat-up notebook filled with your terrible teenage poetry.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's old and forgotten.
But when you brush that physical dust off, you realize something profound. The passion, the intense effort, the sheer stubborn will of who you were back then, your pride, your other Hokori, still shines incredibly brightly.
It still forms the foundation of who you are today.
Exactly. Society often tells us to move on from our youth, right? To grow up and put those childish things away.
Yeah, definitely.
But by placing these two contrasting meanings of Hokori right next to each other, the lyrics offer a vivid affirmation. Your past might feel old and dusty, but the pride you built during those messy years is still luminous.
It's a very forgiving way to look at our past selves. Which makes sense because living through those years is rarely easy.
No, it's not.
And that brings us to the second phrase. The English translation is, with anxiety, applause, and solidarity, my head spins in this clouded safe haven.
And the cultural nuance for this is, it depicts an unstable psychological state where your own inner anxiety, external applause, and solidarity within a group mix together, causing even your safe haven to waver.
The vocabulary here feels so chaotic compared to the gentle dust we just talked about.
It really is a sharp pivot into the reality of being young.
I really want to focus on that phrase at the end, Guwan Guwan Ninaru. Guwan Guwan is an onomatopoeia, right? It sounds so intensely physical.
It is intensely physical. It describes a profound dizziness, a sensation where your vision is warping, or a loud pulsing noise is echoing inside your head so much that you feel like you're losing your balance.
Like the room is actually spinning.
Exactly.
Oh.
It perfectly captures that bodily panic you feel when you're overwhelmed by societal expectations.
It's a total sensory overload. You have your own internal thwan, your anxiety.
Right.
Then you have kasai, the applause or expectations from parents, teachers, and society telling you who you should be.
And on top of that, there's rentai.
The pressure of solidarity, the desperate need to fit in with your peer group.
Yes, you're juggling all these massive pressures and they mix together until even your enzenchitai, your safe haven, maybe your bedroom, or a close circle of friends becomes clouded and murky.
It starts to waver.
You get dizzy just trying to exist. It's a really profound way to describe how exhausting it is to grow up and try to belong anywhere.
It makes you want to reach out and comfort that younger, dizzy version of yourself. And speaking of how we view our younger selves, that perfectly sets up our third phrase.
Let's hear it.
The translation is, the sour spring that resembles that blue and the lilacs. This feels like a direct callback to what we discussed earlier.
It is. The exact cultural nuance is, youth is not just described as blue, symbolizing hope, but also as supai, sur immature. This is a clear answer to the previous work, Ao to Natsu.
Ah, so there's the direct connection to the previous song.
Yes. In Japanese culture, youth is almost universally described as blue. Think of the word seishun, which literally translates to blue spring.
It symbolizes hope, freshness, that sparkling, perfect summer ideal.
But here, the lyrics inject a healthy dose of reality by using the word supai, which means sour.
Sour, like biting into an unripe piece of fruit.
Precisely. If you eat a piece of fruit before it's ready, it's overwhelmingly sour. It makes you wince.
It really does.
And honestly, when we look back on our teenage years, we often wince, don't we?
Oh, all the time.
We were immature, we were unripe, we did things that make us cringe when we think about them late at night. It wasn't just a perfect sweet blue time, it was deeply sour.
I think there's something incredibly beautiful about accepting that cringy, sour version of ourselves. The lyrics say, the sour spring and the lilacs.
Right.
It places that immature, unpolished, embarrassing version of who we were right next to the blooming lilacs. We don't have to reject the sourness to appreciate the beauty of the flower. We can be both at the same time.
That's a vital realization. It's a profound acceptance of our own unripeness. And what's interesting is that this unripeness, this lingering anxiety, doesn't just magically vanish the day we become adults.
Sadly not.
It follows us into our daily routines, which leads us right into the fourth phrase.
Let's delve into phrase 4 then. The English translation is, a restless heart, the unpleasantness of mourning, and taking a different express train.
And the cultural nuance here is, it captures the urban loneliness felt during a morning commute when one cannot settle into the hustle of society and wishes to avoid contact with others.
I feel like anyone listening right now can picture this exact scenario.
It's an incredibly vivid snapshot of modern life.
It's such a specific, relatable feeling. Have you ever stood on a train platform during rush hour feeling totally overwhelmed by the sheer mass of humanity and just let a train pass by so you could take the next one?
Yes, absolutely. And that is exactly what's happening here. The phrase uses two evocative Japanese expressions. First, wasawasa surumune.
Wasawasa.
Right. Wasawasa is the sound of rustling leaves, but here it describes a restless, unsettled heart. It's that vague, nervous agitation and impatience fluttering in your chest.
Wow, that's incredibly descriptive.
And then there's zurashitenoru, which means intentionally shifting or delaying your routine to catch a later train.
Maybe you do it to avoid the crushing rush of the crowd.
Or maybe you see a coworker on the platform and you're just not emotionally ready to make small talk yet.
Oh, I've definitely done that.
Yeah.
So you just step back.
We've all been there. It highlights this delicate, introverted self-consciousness. You're trying to function in society, heading off to work or school, but your heart is wrestling with anxiety.
You desperately want to protect your tiny bubble of personal space.
Exactly. So you deliberately step out of the flow of the crowd. It's a deeply relatable portrait of urban loneliness, perfectly captured in a mundane morning commute.
It's so gentle in its observation. It doesn't judge the person for wanting to hide away for an extra 5 minutes.
Not at all.
But that desire to protect oneself, to hide away, takes on an even deeper psychological layer in our fifth phrase.
It does.
The English translation is, hating the night, fearing being alone. My selfishness has twisted into a virtue.
And the nuances, while confessing the fear of loneliness, it depicts a clumsy pride in protecting one's stubbornness or ego, wagama, as one's own identity. Bitoku virtue.
This feels incredibly raw.
It's a masterclass in emotional honesty. I want to focus on the word kojireta. It means tangled, twisted, or complicated in a way that's really difficult to undo.
Like a necklace chain that has become completely knotted at the bottom of a jewelry box.
That's a perfect analogy. When we're children, we have wagama childish selfishness or a stubborn insistence on having things our way.
Right.
But as we grow up, that childish selfishness doesn't just evaporate. Instead, it gets tangled up. It gets kojireta with our adult pride, our past hurts, and our coping mechanisms.
So we might be sitting in our rooms at night, terrified of being alone, but instead of just reaching out and admitting I'm lonely, we build a wall.
Exactly.
We dress up our stubborn ego and call it a virtue, our bitoku. We tell ourselves, I'm just fiercely independent, or I just have incredibly high standards for who I let in.
When really, we're just trying to protect our fragile hearts from being rejected.
That's it, exactly. We rebrand our fear as a strength.
It becomes a complex, twisted virtue that we rely on for self-preservation. It's a clumsy, flawed kind of pride, but it's our identity.
Yeah.
And what's so touching here is that the song doesn't condemn this twisted selfishness. It acknowledges it as a messy, complicated, but entirely human part of surviving in the world.
It's remarkably forgiving. And when we start recognizing those twisted defenses, we also have to face the painful things that caused us to build those walls in the first place.
We do.
That profound sense of forgiveness carries right into our sixth phrase. The English translation is, let's acknowledge even the scars that weren't worth the pain.
The cultural nuance here is, instead of denying unreasonable experiences as useless, this is the kindness of accepting even unrewarding pain as a vital element of who you are today.
This might be one of the most healing lines in the entire song.
I agree completely. The phrase wari ni awanai is the crucial piece here. It means not worth the cost or unrewarding.
Right.
It's what happens when you put in a massive amount of time, effort, or emotional labor, and the return is practically zero. You just take a loss.
It's so refreshing to hear that, because so often society forces this toxic positivity on us, right?
Oh, constantly.
We're constantly told that every hardship is a lesson, that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, that pressure to find the silver lining.
But sometimes things just aren't fair. Sometimes you get hurt, you get a scar, a kizu, and there was no grand life lesson attached to it. It was just a painful, unrewarding experience that wasn't worth the cost.
And that is universal human reality. We all carry scars from situations that simply weren't fair. The brilliance of this lyric is that it says, let's acknowledge them anyway. Don't dismiss those unrewarding struggles as useless just because they didn't pay off in some cinematic way. Affirming those scars, saying, yes, that happened and it wasn't worth it, but I survived it, is tremendously powerful.
It really is.
It's a warm, encouraging message for anyone who is just exhausted from fighting their way through life.
It honors the pain without forcing a silver lining on it. It just says, that scar belongs to you. And acknowledging those unrewarding scars naturally leads us to the ultimate destination of this entire journey.
The final step.
Let's look at our seventh and final phrase. The English translation is, I love myself, and I am able to love myself.
And the nuance for this final phrase is the ultimate declaration of self-acceptance reached after passing through conflict, defeat, loneliness, and an immature past.
This is just beautiful.
There is a very deliberate, critical, grammatical shift happening here that we have to appreciate. Notice how the phrase starts with aishuturu. That means I love myself, but it implies a will, an active effort to love oneself.
Like it's a verb you're actively trying to do, a conscious choice you have to wake up and make every single day.
Yes, but then Omori immediately shifts and adds isotoru. This changes the verb into its potential form, indicating a state of being.
Wow.
It means I am able to love myself. It's no longer just an exhausting daily effort. It has become natural.
Think about everything we just walked through in these lyrics.
Yeah, the whole journey.
The dust and the hidden pride, the dizzying, spinning panic in our safe spaces, the sour, unripe, cringe-worthy memories of our youth.
The lonely mornings avoiding people on the train platform.
The twisted, complicated virtues we use to protect our egos, and those unfair, unrewarding scars we carry. All of those struggles, every single one of them, culminate in this profound, natural self-acceptance.
It's the ultimate arrival point. You've moved past the conscious struggle to accept yourself, and you've arrived at a place where loving yourself is just your natural baseline. All those sour, unripe moments weren't obstacles to loving yourself. They were the exact path that led you here.
That is just breathtaking. When we step back and look at Lilac as a whole, it really is a story of a regenerative journey.
Truly.
We don't have to throw away our past to move forward. By finding our pride hidden in the dust of old memories, and by fully embracing the sourness of our youth, we can actually stand firmly in the present.
We become the true protagonists of our own lives.
Not despite our flaws and scars, but because we've learned to hold them gently.
It's a really remarkable piece of writing. It takes the flower language of the lilac friendship, memories of youth, purity, and weaves it into a blessing for anyone who has ever had to navigate the messy process of growing up.
And as we wrap up our time together in the room today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over on your own. When you look back at your own life, how might the sour, unrewarding, or even intensely cringeworthy moments of your past actually be the exact ingredients that give your present life its unique, beautiful flavor?
It's definitely something to think about the next time you wince at an old memory.
Thank you so much for listening to us again today. We pick up various Japanese songs and update detailed explanations on our website.
It's always a pleasure.
If you want to savor the lyrics more deeply, please check out the website from the link in the description. If you like this show, please subscribe to the channel.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. If you have any thoughts or requests for songs you'd like us to feature, please let us know in the comments. We'll see you next time. This was Japan Lyric Room.